What does it mean to approach real life like we do video games? I see lots of confusion about this in the comments on my content. Sure, some of it may be trolling, but I figured I'd clarify just in case it's a genuine misunderstanding for some people. No, it does not mean that you live like you have unlimited lives or that you start doing GTA things in real life like stealing cars and robbing people. Here's the short version. We play video games more unstoppably and limitlessly than we play real life. Our mindset in games is night and day compared to real life. We unleash our full potential when we play video games. We also play video games to experience certain things that we're not experiencing in real life. Once we study our experiences gaming and learn what those things are, we can create them for ourselves in real life and transform real life into the greatest game on earth. Then we can play this game of life the way that we do all the others and experience more success in every area of our lives, our health, our wealth, and our relationships, and have way more fun. Think big with me here while I explain this. Number one, there are powerful ways that we express ourselves in-game that we can't seem to express in real life. We play games like unstoppable heroes, but in real life, many of us shrink to a weak shell of who we could be. For example, when I played World of Warcraft, everything that held me back in real life melted away. No discipline or motivation problems, no perfectionism, no self-sabotage, no self-judgment, no inner criticism, no overthinking, no self-limiting beliefs, no giving up when things got difficult or boring or grindy, no taking things too seriously. I simply played the game and had a blast doing so. There were also things about how I played World of Warcraft that weren't present in my real life. I was process-oriented, not results-oriented. I allowed myself to be whoever I wanted to be. I was constantly in flow state. I was extremely present while playing. I appreciated the small wins, even something as small as looting my first weapon upgrade on a fresh character. I had perfect trust and faith that as long as I kept playing the game, I would eventually achieve everything that I wanted. Because the game was beatable, right? No one would play it if it wasn't. Victory was guaranteed and inevitable. I played WoW with ultimate ownership, meaning I focused 100% on what I could control and not on what I couldn't. I learned by doing instead of constantly thinking and planning. I had a third-person perspective. I didn't take things personally because they just happened to my character. I was willing to be bad at the game as long as I needed to in order to eventually get good. I didn't give up or get bored just because I wasn't an expert yet. I had a powerful why, so the how didn't matter. I would figure anything out because I was 100% determined and committed to see it through, which made my problem solving limitless. I was competitive without letting it demoralize or overwhelm me. I was defiant. Nothing could get me down, no matter how many times I failed a certain boss, how many times I got ganked, how many times anything unfortunate in the game happened. I had a fuck you attitude of, I'm coming back and I'm doing this. But most importantly, I became lovingly obsessed with the game. I believed so strongly in what I was doing and loved it so much that it never felt like a chore, never felt like something that I had to do. It was a blessing, a gift, something that I get to do. And I wanted to devote myself to it fully. I wanted to play 24/7. Now at this point, you might understandably think, sure, but life isn't a game. There are certain things about my favorite video games that just aren't true about real life. I couldn't approach it, let alone enjoy it the same way. They're too different. Life is more boring. I don't see the point of what you're getting at. Here's the next thing that I want you to consider. Number two, why you game tells you exactly what you're missing in your real life. If real life was more exciting and fun than any video game that we could possibly play, then we'd never game in the first place. We'd just play real life. So clearly for each of us, there's something that we get in our favorite video games that real life isn't giving us. I'll explain my example. I spent 15 years and at least 30,000 hours playing, which was more like escaping, into World of Warcraft on and off. And finally, one day I reached a breaking point. I was determined to figure out what kept me coming back to the game. Even when I had a great job, great health, great relationships, I'd always return eventually. So I studied my time gaming, thinking and writing about it for weeks. Here's some of what I found games provided me with that I was missing in my real life. A sense of purpose and direction, a compelling and captivating story and vision for the future that inspired me, that I could immerse myself in, even lose myself in. Extreme clarity about what I was playing to accomplish, why, and how to get there. I always knew what I was committing to and what I should do next to get closer to reaching it. As a result, I was bought in. I was 100% committed to playing. WoW gave me a sense of wonder and awe, this mystical excitement to plunge myself into a world of possibility and adventure. I couldn't find this in real life. Real life to me felt mundane, boring, nihilistic, drab, spiritually dead even. It didn't feel like an epic quest or adventure. It didn't feel alive. Games allowed me to feel competent at something, masterful even. There was a sense of accomplishment and self-actualization, of becoming someone better, someone stronger, of going on a hero's journey and transforming myself. On paper, it was hard work, but I cared deeply about it. As humans, we think we want more leisure. We think that we'll be happy when we get everything that we want. But what makes us happiest and most fulfilled is meaningful, rewarding work. And lastly, in real life, I felt like life was happening to me. In game, I felt like I was happening to life. Like I was the main character of my own epic story with total agency over my own destiny. Once I figured all of this out, I knew exactly what I needed to create for myself in my real life to make it just as exciting and just as appealing as my favorite video games. Now, how exactly do we bridge the gap between games and real life? There are 3 main steps. Step 1, design the game of your life. Unfortunately, most people don't know what the fuck they're living for. They never consciously decide what they'd like to accomplish, why they'd like to accomplish it, and the story they tell themselves about it all. They're left with no compelling reason to wake up in the morning. Then they wonder why they feel lost, stuck, unmotivated, unhappy. This is like playing an uninspiring game with no clear objectives, no overarching direction, no captivating story, and then wondering why you're not having fun. In life, we're not just the players, we're also the game designers. You choose what to do with the miraculous gift of your time on Earth. You decide what is meaningful. It's something that you create, not something that you find. And the beautiful thing is, you can choose whatever you want. It's your game that you're designing and your story that you're writing. Step 1 of designing the game of your life has a few smaller steps within it. The first of those, 1A, is what? Create a vivid, detailed picture of the future life you'd like to make for yourself. Think of this as the end game that you're playing towards completing. How much money are you making? What are you doing every day? What have you accomplished? Who do you hang out with? What's your relationship look like? What are your health and fitness like? Everything about this future life. And do not limit yourself during this exercise. Make it as big as you'd like. It doesn't matter if it sounds impossible or even scares you. Once you've painted this picture in as much detail as possible and you know exactly what you're playing for, you can reverse engineer all of the quests that you'll have to complete along the way to make this a reality, to beat the game that you've designed. Now, step 1B is why. Many people get stuck here. They think that they need some incredibly profound purpose behind what they do, but your why doesn't need to be deep. It doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be saving the world or Elon Musk level in its impact, its magnitude, its scale. There's also no right or wrong answer here. You don't need to logically justify why something is meaningful to you. Just because can be a perfectly adequate reason. What does matter is that your why evokes emotion. Think in terms of implication. For example, I'd like more money so that I can experience the best that life has to offer. It'll allow me to buy my time back, better protect and provide for my family, do more of the things that I love, travel the world, better help other people, retire my parents. You get the point. Now imagine what having each of those things would feel like. Imagine what a day in the life would be like, as if you're directing a music video or a movie clip in your mind. Let the positive emotions crash over you like a tidal wave. Create a why that brings tears to your eyes and makes you feel lit aflame when you think about it. Step 1C is story. Language, specifically story, is how we give things meaning. For example, I could look at my own life and tell myself any story that I'd like. Whether it's I'm just helping dudes who play video games improve their health, wealth, relationships, or it could be something like this. I'm on an epic, divinely inspired mission to help 1 million plus men escape the chains of quiet desperation and despair that keep them stuck existing in real life and only truly living by proxy in virtual worlds. Take your pick. What story will you tell yourself about your life, about yourself? You'll be right about whichever one you choose. This applies not only to the big picture, but also to each and every moment. When you make a mistake, when you experience a setback, is it a mistake or is it a lesson? Did it happen to you or for you, even if you don't see why just yet? Is the world a cruel, unfair, cold, terrible place? Or is it one big dream of endless possibility? A wondrous miracle waiting to shower you with all its blessings? Are you just some overly sentient ape stumbling around a life that you didn't ask for? Or are you a hero, here for a reason, consciously creating your own reality? Is this just another YouTube video that you're watching? Or is this a wake-up call from the universe, a beckoning to fulfill your destiny, the beginning of the rest of your life? It's entirely up to you. Give yourself permission to be subjective. One person's delusion is another person's faith. And here, I'm sure people will comment saying stuff like, but the world is unfair. It's risky. I could die. Things could go wrong. It's dangerous. Look, I'm not telling you to live oblivious to the harsh truths of the world. Think about the mindset of a professional in any domain in life. Professionals are acutely aware of what could go wrong and prepare accordingly, but they don't dwell or obsess over these things any more than what's required. Once that's done, they focus 100% on what they can control, which is themselves. So be a professional in the game of life. Finally, the last mini step here is 1D. Just pick something and start. Will things change? Of course they will. Your vision for the future, your understanding of how to make it happen, the meaning you give it all, these things will evolve and further reveal themselves through time and action. But that's the cool part. It's your living, breathing story that you're constantly writing and revising. What's important is that you put something on paper and just start. You'll figure out the rest as you go. Step 2 of bridging the gap between games and real life is creating your real life character. You do this by imagining the version of yourself who naturally and effortlessly conquers the game that you designed in step 1. What are their skills? What are their character traits? What are their beliefs? How do they walk? How do they talk? How do they carry themselves? How do they show up in the world? What is their personal style or aesthetic? Who do they surround themselves with? How do people act when this version of you walks into a room? What is the personal legend or mythology of this version of yourself? How do they play the game of life? Your real life character is an identity. Make who you are a deliberate, conscious creation rather than an accident. Once you've done this, in every moment of every day, ask yourself, what would this version of me be doing right now? You can even give this version of yourself a name if it helps. I use Ulfgar because that's my old character name from when I used to play WoW. Practice becoming this person, being this person, and your ideal reality will naturally follow. Now, the third and final step, and possibly the most important, is to actually play the game. But it's crucial for you to understand what I'm about to tell you. Imagine this. You logged into a game for the first time, and as soon as you logged in, you had already beaten the game. It was already over. If you beat the game simply by showing up, you'd be bored, right? Similarly, if everything that you think you want in life just fell into your lap without you actually achieving it, you'd feel empty and cheated, and you wouldn't have changed at all. You'd still be the same person with the same things to work on, the same weaknesses. So don't despair that you're not exactly where you'd like to be just yet. You'll always find something that you're missing, even at the top of the mountain where you think true happiness exists. Instead, focus on playing the game. Embrace it. Love it. Release all your unquestioned expectations about how it should or must be played, or by when you should have something completed. All of that nonsense. Appreciate and be present with every moment, the highs and the lows. They're two equally beautiful sides of the human experience. Be grateful that you're alive and you even get to play the game in the first place. Playing the game is the whole point. This video may not be for you if you're watching it. I began this mission because I know that there are gamers who, just like me once upon a time, want more out of life, but they don't know what to do. They feel stuck. They're settling for less. They're not pursuing their dreams. They're not living life on their terms or even trying to. In the worst cases, they may have even given up on themselves somewhere along the way. If that's you, I'm here to tell you, don't give up on yourself. You have all the answers, you just don't know it. Gamers already have the recipe to living an extraordinary life. It's right under their noses in the last place that they'd ever think to look. All of the bullshit that holds us back in real life disappears when we game. The most successful players in the game of life already understand the principles that we unknowingly live by when we play our favorite games. My job is connecting the dots for other gamers, helping them to live lives that are so miraculous and incredible that they never feel like taking a break or escaping from them at all. I invite you to join me on this quest to master the game of life and become the main character of your own epic real-life story. You can heed the call, or you can neglect it at your own peril. Cowards die many times before their deaths. The valiant never taste of death but once.